Hi guys, today we're going to have a look at the Kings of War 2nd edition rules. Now you've probably seen on the website that you could have downloaded the beta test and that sort of thing, but this is the updated and brand new version that has everything supposedly corrected. And having a look through, it has been. It's been updated and it looks a lot better.
The one thing I noticed about this fantasy battle type book is the size of it. I like that size.
Yeah.
A5 size.
A5 size, only 20 pages of actual rules in it. The rest is all your army lists. There are 8 army lists in it actually.
Sit there.
I think there's 8 on there. Yeah, 8 army lists.
With rule books, I always find the hardest thing is to keep them simple in 20 pages, because you can do a brilliant set of rules, but it might take you 400 pages to
explain them.
They correct every little thing that goes wrong. Or if you keep it simple and spend some time at it, they take the little niggles out. You can get it in 20 pages quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can.
Absolutely. And again, it's only 20 pages and it's much the same. There's been a couple of tweaks to update it. Anybody who had a look at the Kings of War before will know that there was some problems with the nerve tests and things like that, and that you seem to be able to rack up loads of damage and still nothing might happen, you know, at the end of it.
Some of us aren't a fan of our soldiers running away, though.
That's true enough. That's true enough.
The Russian system of shooting guys that retreated
yeah,
seems quite logical whenever your huge big unit is running off the board.
Well, that's it. And now that the system has changed, in that there's 2 numbers, one slightly lower than the other, so it may be 11 and 13 or 10 and 12. It's normally about 2 different. The difference is this time that when you're making a nerve test, your opponent rolls 2d6 after they've damaged you, and they add the damage that they've already inflicted to the unit onto that number. And if it's over the first number but under the second, you become wavering, which means you can only halt or run away or change facing. Or if it's over the second number, well, that's your unit's broken at that point.
Yeah, the first number, you're basically deciding whether you want to fight on today.
Yeah, that's it.
Or not.
That's it. So effectively, what you're doing there is that the effects of damage now become a lot more devastating. We did a couple of wee tests just beforehand. I was showing you what happens. Basically the difference between a bigger unit with good nerve and a smaller unit that has rubbish nerve, or even just any unit that has rubbish nerve, is substantial. Whenever you can put 1 point of damage on the guy, roll 2d6 and get like 9 over, and suddenly they're in terrible trouble with 1 point.
They run away. Yeah, we're not a huge fan of small units in general. You know,
no.
I don't see the point in most war games. I know I play 40k and there is an argument for small units. They have small units. For me, huge hordes of guys and big large units, it's going to take a lot and hand out a lot of pain.
Well, anybody who knows anything about Kings of War, you'll know it's a game for big armies. There are rules, of course, for taking smaller units of guys. I think there's the first example here for the elves is a Palace Guard unit which has 5 troops in it. Now, albeit they're a much more elite version of the ordinary the ordinary elves. But you wouldn't take 5 of them unless you're mad, because basically they've got a nerve of 10, 12, so over 12, and they're gonna run.
The problem with small units like that as well is any damage at all is hugely effective against you, because if you have 5 guys and 1 guy dies, that's 20% of your unit has just died.
Well, again, there are some of the updated special rules that some of the units have, like vicious. Vicious is a great rule. Basically what it means is that one of the dice that you've rolled that fails to do any damage, you can re-roll it again. So even if you get no damage at all, you might get you've got a chance of re-rolling 1, which 1's all you need on a small unit, because as long as you get 1 damage on them, you get to make the roll to see if their nerve breaks or not.
Exactly.
And it's much better than anything else. One damage is all it takes. And 1 damage in one of those small units can be devastating.
Again, one of the simple strategies in any of the games here that have like nerve or leadership values is you damage all the units slightly, that they all have to take tests, and even if they're all taking tests on 10s or even 11s, some of them will fail. The dice say that some will fail.
Exactly, that's it. Now, what happens is, of course, you can get. That's why you need things like your generals and your other guys who have inspiring, which means you can re-roll that again.
Yeah.
So chances are that you might get away with it. but still, again, it means spreading out your damage becomes a lot more effective than piling a whole load of damage. You can pile a whole load of damage onto one unit to try and make it break, but once you've put about 5-6 damage onto something, it's time to move on and damage something else at that point.
There is the balance in all these games between either completely, if you're going to put a lot on the unit, put a lot on it, you wipe that unit out. It doesn't get the test, it's just dead. Or put lots of damage in lots of different units that lots of units will have to test. And I have seen guys with, it's more leadership in the other games, in the fantasy games, with great stats and them getting to re-roll things and all the rest, and them still running away, because if you have to roll dice, there always is that chance. It doesn't matter what you have to roll, there always is that chance of running away.
Well, that's it. And it also means that one of the powerful effects in the game is, of course, healing, which means that you can just start taking off some of that damage as well. So once that happens and you start healing units up as well, you know, it can be extremely effective, and it makes some of your larger units, because the only reason I can see you would ever want to take the smaller units in Kings of War, it's basically to suck up damage. You know, a load of shots on a small unit is a load of shots that didn't hit one of your big impressive units, you know, and make them run.
Whenever I used to play fantasy, I used to have a Noblar unit in my ogre army, and I used to love people shooting at the Noblars because they were pointless. They were only there to transfer damage onto.
Yeah.
And that's little units. It all comes back to this. I always have this theory of painting things really brightly that you want to die.
You want them to attack,
You want shot at. You have a nice little unit, and you give your champion a huge big sword, and you give your standard bearer a huge big standard, and you paint it really bright reds and yellows and golds and silvers.
That's it.
To try and
with a big sign saying we're coming to get you.
Yeah, with a big sign going, ooh. That's one of sort of, it's a strategy, and against players who are a bit indecisive, it can work for you.
Oh no, it definitely can. You know, another of course sort of metagaming aspect is you talk up your small unit and go, oh, these are brilliant there. Oh, you've no chance against these guys. No. At which point then they get shelled and you go, oh well, that's good enough. That's what they were there for. That'll do.
These guys will eat you. Or your opponent.
It's like the Berserkers. I think the Dwarf Berserkers, who are in there, are perfect for that, because they look impressive and they look like they're actually gonna do a lot, but a small unit of them is only okay. but you know, again, a load of shots on them, and they're more likely. You know, I think their nerve's not bad as well, so they're a great wee unit for just sucking up a load of shots.
They've got a chance of standing there whenever they shouldn't really stand. Yeah, well, we have the name like Dwarf Berserkers.
Dwarf Berserkers, yeah. A unit of 5 of them has a nerve of 12, 14. So I mean, that's pretty good, and they're 50 points. You know, they're cheap.
The thing is, if you're rolling 2 dice on a 12 or a 14, and there only has 5 guys in the unit, the odds is you're going to pass it unless the unit's dead. Because if you do 5 points of damage on them, they're going to be dead anyway. Yeah,
and they're headstrong as well. All dwarves are headstrong, which means they can shrug off the wavering effect anyway. So you know, you roll on a 4 up, you go, nah, I'm not wavering anymore. I can charge you again. Yeah. So you know, they're well worth it. For that's again, you'll find that there are some small units in certain factions that are worthwhile taking only because they're worthwhile for your opponent to shoot.
Yeah. If your opponent has war machines, catapults, things like that it's worthwhile just putting them up, putting pressure on the likes of that, just that they have to do something about it.
Well, that's it. As well as which, from a collecting and modelling point of view, with Kings of War, one of the good things about it that we were discussing is because it's based a lot on the larger size units, and because you don't have to take your models off, unit fillers, getting a 40 mil base and putting a couple of guys on it just to fill up the center of your unit becomes a really viable option. So you can have some really cost-effective
trees,
units. Yeah, stick a tree and a rock in the middle, and
fire with some dudes sitting around it. Anything of those. I am a fan of this system, of that way of having your units, because you can make them into a little diorama almost. You know, you can have, as long as you have your front rank. Beyond the front rank, you can have anything you want, basically. In there, you can have guys sitting down. There's a model in our store, an alien in a trolley, And you stick him in the second rank. There's no reason.
Well, that's
why
it.
not?
I mean, in the rulebook, of course, the limitations they have really are that when you're making your infantry unit, it has to have a unit facing a 5 at the front, unless it's a horde, in which case it has to have 10. So that's basically the only limitation that there is. So you make your front rank, and then the rest of it you can just fill up.
The larger units become better value for you.
Yeah.
Because if you have a unit of 10 wide by 5 deep, and you only have 10 plus models, and the rest of it's trees and woods and rocks and whatnot, that's good value, because you have a unit of 50 men, it's only cost you 10 models. Or if you have a unit of 5, which are cannon fodder and pointless, you have to have 5 models, and you can't have any filler in there.
Yeah, that's it. So so always go for it. And as well as which, in the rules, bigger units are always better. So just having big units, guys, all wandering about, as well as, of course, the cavalry, which are always really good too. You know, again, the fact that you can the game almost lends itself towards really cool looking units with filler bits in between. You know, I like to say, recently we had some filler unit fillers put onto the website by our friend Tin Racer, of course, who had some undead and stuff with gravestones and all that sort of thing, and walls with them clambering over the walls and things like that. This is perfect for that sort of thing. So with massive units filled up with some really nice architectural bits and bobs, ruins, rocks, the whole lot.
Especially if you are the likes of undead, all you have to do is have like a head sticking up out of the base. That's right. As if they're coming up out of the ground.
Like the ghoul I made, or the zombie that had just the head and the arm coming out of the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sort of way. Any of the other games where units can do this, it's one of the classic things they do. You know, have a couple of feet sticking out of the ground as if he's coming up the wrong way round. You know, and then use the other half of the model to be coming up the other way. It is, but it does. We are chatting about just filling the front rank. For me, I would probably fill the front rank and maybe down the two sides.
Down the sides. I mean, you want your filler things to be in the middle.
In the middle, and then fill the middle with whatever you want. You know, you could have the guys in the middle of the rank up to any sort of silly games. They could be playing football in the middle of the rank, with throwing horseshoes.
Well, that's it. Yeah. But ultimately, I mean, that's what Kings of War is all about. It's all about big armies. And it's all about moving loads of nice big units about, which is why, of course, it's great for people who are starting the game, because it looks impressive with all the big units moving about, and all this sort of stuff. So if you're only starting out, and it's a very simple system as well, you know, basically all the stats you need to know are all written out, and it's all D6s. Each unit has an ability, an accuracy, and that's what you roll over. So in the Ironclad Dwarves, they roll 4s on a roll of 4 over, they hit.
Yeah.
Whatever you shoot at, and then whatever you shoot at has a value of defense, and that's what you roll all you roll the hit, and then for every dice that hits, you pick them up again, and you roll the dice, and it'll tell you what you need to damage these guys that you shoot at.
Or if you're superstitious, you don't roll the dice again with the high numbers. You roll the dice with the low numbers, saying, well, they rolled a low number the last time, they're due to roll a high number this time. This isn't me. No. I know at least one guy in our office who does this, and another couple of guys that come here to game. Yeah. If they roll 5s or 6s, no, I'm not using them dice. I'm taking a dice that rolls a low number
roll the
previous time. If that works for you guys, so be it. But my dice roll 6s all the time. So
because magical thinking always works, like, you know.
Magical thinking always works, you know.
That's it. So, but there you go, guys. Nice, straightforward system, dead easy, and of course, you can buy the massive unit boxes as well from Mantic, just to make up as many of these big units as you want. Tell you what, guys, why don't you have a look at it? Tell me what you think. Drop some comments below. What do you think of Kings of War? Any good? The updated version, like I say, has retweaked a lot of the rules so that they work slightly better than they did for the play test. So tell us what you think, and we'll get on and make some more videos.